Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to the All Things Performance Podcast. This is Josiah Igono with my co-host Derek Devine. And today, Derek, we have an international guest. You know what I'm saying?
It's expanding constantly here.
Hey man, we're expanding. This is a global network right here. We have Sam Whitehead. Sam Whitehead turned professional golfer in 2015. I got a chance to know Sam while I was a strength coach at Grand Canyon University here in Phoenix, Arizona, when that program was going through a transition. I was underneath Chuck Howard and the great staff that we had there. And Sam has gone on to do some great things, and he's going to join us today. Sam, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. Excited to be here, obviously. Share some of the lack of wisdom I have. Excited, mate. It's nice to be here.
That's great. Hey, so real quick, because everybody wants to know, what's the weather right now in the UK?
Today has been beautiful. It's been low 20s, so whatever American conversion you want to use. It's 20 Celsius, the proper way of measuring temperature.
Here we go. I knew it.
It didn't take long. Proper way of measuring temperature. The sun's been out. It's been nice. We're in the middle of the summer. It's going to be light here until 9:30. We're going to have a barbecue after this, and happy days.
Nice, man. What do you guys throw on the barbecue real quick, man? What you guys throw on the barbecue, Sam?
Oh, we're no Aussies. We don't put those shrimp on the barbie, no. we got the burgers, we got the chicken. It's conventional. Nothing mental going on over here.
That's awesome. So, real quick before we get into it, golf, right? Golf is a world that has expanded exponentially in the last several years, and I want you to take us through your journey as a collegiate golfer, and before that, to what you're doing now, how your professional experience has been, and please add some meat on the bone in terms of why is golf so popular now? Like, why?
Okay, so first of all, Tiger Woods changed the game. Full stop. That's the easy bit to that. In terms of me, I played golf growing up as a junior. Went through junior ranks, county ranks, national ranks. Came out to America on a golf scholarship, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and bumped into you and started hating working out again. And spent 2 years at Grand Canyon. Loved it out there. Had some issues off the course with the coach. Basically just came to a mutual agreement I shouldn't be there. So took a year out, sort of came back here, played, and then transferred over to Winthrop University in South Carolina. Spent another 2 years there and finished. Came back here and turned pro. Sort of bouncing around mini tours, up onto the Challenge Tour for a little bit and back down again. And obviously the last 2 years with COVID's been bit of a kick in the balls, but it's getting back to normal again now. It's kind of just a little bit about it, really.
That's awesome. Hey, real quick, we got to ask because I think the audience is wondering. Derek, how's your golf game, man?
Oof. I mean, for the lack of what I play, I'll put myself up against some people. The biggest thing, which I think is what golf is consistency, and just the consistency is just not there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sam is sizing both of us up and like, man, these guys, they have no idea what they're doing.
But no, don't get me wrong. I mean, with the amount that I play, Sam would be surprised what came out of there, though.
Oh man, I tell you what. So Sam,
if it's in the marketing budget, bring me over. I'll happily come over.
Seriously, man, we need a budget for that because I know there's a lot of organizations that have golf budgets. Sam, I mean, you were blunt, and that's one thing I always appreciated about you. You're a straight up dude. I mean, Tiger Woods, right? Tiger Woods changed the game of golf. And as a professional golfer, right? Walk us through what your day looks like. You know what I'm saying? Do you just wake up, stretch, walk to the golf course, hit a couple of balls? Like, what do you guys do, man?
It's different every day. Literally different every day. which is why I love the game, because it doesn't matter how good you are or how bad you are. It's never the same 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
You know, you could be in the form of your life, and you wake up one day, you go to the range, and you haven't got a clue what's going on, and you don't know why. There's no explanation to it. It's just the game of golf. But if you're walking through like an average day, like today, woke up, had a bit of breakfast, did my bits, got ready, headed out, and I'd say poor with my wedges. I haven't been taking advantage of a situation where I've got a wedge in my hand lately. So the last 2 weeks, I've been doing a lot of focus on wedge work, distance control with my wedges. So putting cones down at 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, you know, and just trying to get a feel of those shots again. And then just go through the bag a little bit as well. Go and do some putting drills. And today I went and played a few holes. I actually just like going out and playing holes sometimes after I've been practicing, just to try and put those feelings for that day into it. So like today, it was quite windy today, so it's nice just to get on the course and just to hit some shots against the wind and with the wind, and just see where you're at, how your swing feels, and that sort of stuff. But you know, you could go 2 or 3 weeks and be really happy with how you're playing and not hit a massive amount of balls on the practice ground, and maybe just work more in your short game and more in your putting, and even just playing. So I think, you know, there's no right and wrong way of doing it.
Yeah.
It's whatever you feel like you need to be doing at a certain time.
Yeah.
But then the hard thing is not overly focusing on that one thing and then kind of forgetting about everything else.
Wow.
So it's a constant balance, because there's so many different aspects to the game.
Yes.
You know, it's not one swing.
Yeah.
If you play 18 holes, you might make 1 or 2 stock shot golf swings because of the yardages, because of the elevation, because of the wind, because of the way the ball's lying, because of how it's lying. You know, there's so many different aspects that go into each and every single shot. You could have hit 100 7-irons on a practice ground, bog standard. You know, say you hit your 7-iron 180 yards. Okay, great. You can stand there all day and hit it 180 yards.
Yeah.
But what happens when you get on the golf course and you got 174 and it's slightly downwind or slightly into the wind? You know, then it changes everything.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So there's so many different aspects to it that, you know, people will say, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this, you should do that. At the end of the day, you got to find what works for you and find what's best for you.
So this is interesting, Sam. So I want to come back to this. Derek. So Derek and I play football. Derek played at a high level. As you hear that, Derek, right?
Yeah.
What is the play, you know what I'm saying, with a professional football player, right? Or a collegiate football player in terms of what he just shared? Because, hey, sometimes it's like he said, it's different every day. You know, you got to find out what works for you, right? What's the difference between that and maybe the background that you and some of our listeners might be coming from in terms of like regimented, hey, this is how we do it, rain or shine. These are the drills. This is the warm up. This is how I get my body ready. Like what goes to your mind when you hear Sam's iteration of how he goes about his golf game compared to a sport like football?
Well, like I would look at it like I've always felt golf was much different from the standpoint of like what he's sharing, which is pretty much kind of what I thought is everything is, I mean, like every shot's different. Where a lot of the stuff in football is just rep. I mean, it's like majority of the time, it's like a counter is a counter. Yeah. A power play is a power play. A slant is a slant. A corner route's a corner route. There is going to be some variations against different coverages and things like that. I mean, I would say quarterbacking's kind of close to what he's talking about, but I don't think you have nearly as many elements to deal with within that.
Yeah.
Because, I don't think you do. I think there's so much more that can go wrong with a golf ball and a golf club, man. I always felt I had quite a bit of control. Once you get to a certain level, throwing a football as a quarterback, a lot of it's just, you have such a good feel for it. I think to develop that in a golf game based off of what he just said, is much more difficult than anything you do in a football, as far as that, what we're talking about, as far as this topic.
Yeah. So Sam, I have a question for you. That's good. That's good stuff, Derek. So Sam, you guys are much like surgeons. You know what I mean? Like you go into the golf course and that you got your scalpel, you got your inside, you got this instrument, you got this instrument. And for many people who are getting into golf, right, it could be very expensive. And so what I want to do is I want you to talk to us about the importance, right, of your equipment, right? Those tools that you are using to perform this proverbial surgery to do your work versus actual skill, actual hand-eye, actual depth perception. You know what I'm saying? Like, and putting the ball in the hole. What's the balance between your equipment, your tools, and skill? Because, for a football player, you got your pads, you got your helmet, you know what I'm saying? And you better make sure your cleats are up to snuff because that's all you got, and your talent. Whereas in golf, it's like, oh, I'm gonna use a pitching wedge here. Probably shouldn't use a pitching wedge. You should probably use it. Like, talk to us about this relationship between your equipment and skill, man.
Yeah. So I mean, you harness the skill with each club, is what I would say. But for me, every top pro, every pro, most good golfers are custom fit for their equipment.
Yeah.
So, the shaft's right, the lofts are right, the gapping between how far the ball goes for each club is right. So from that standpoint, if you put on a pair of boots and they're a size too big, they're going to slow you down. You're not going to run well in them, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, a pair of cleats, should I say?
I was going to say, man, we ain't doing a lot of running with boots out here.
Yeah, but pair of cleats. Yeah. So, if you put your cleats on, it's the wrong size, it's going to slow you down.
Yep.
If you're playing with the wrong equipment, it's not going to work for you. Now, if you're just getting into the game, just picking up a club and whacking it's not going to be a problem. That's good. Just pick up a club and hit it. That's what you got to do. When you get to a level, and, custom fittings for everyone, and it can benefit your game. But you learn the relationship with each club. You learn what shots you can play with each club. You learn how far each club goes. You learn, if I just take this amount off, I can flight it down and it will go this far with a bit less spin. Every single club, apart from maybe driver, which is just, probably just stand up there and just hit it, I've probably got 3 or 4 shots through the bag with each club. If I want to hit one a bit higher, a bit lower, draw, fade, a bit spinnier, there's so many variations to each club. But again, that's just through practice.
Yeah.
It's through repetition.
So then, like, say we throw Tiger out at the Masters with a set of Callaways he's never touched before. How big of a drop is there going to be in it? Or what's the effect on his game? Is it going to be drastic?
He's not going to go shoot 85. Put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Is he healthy? Is he healthy?
Yeah. I mean, but it's just kind of like, if you gave Michael Jordan a little bit different size basketball, he's going to adapt.
Yeah, exactly. And Tiger will adapt. Yeah. And, if anyone will adapt to it, and you'll have a natural feel for the swing creates the shot. Yeah. And the club's just the extension of the swing.
Gotcha.
So you're going to know the swing. And if the shafts are a bit different, you'll figure out how to just hold it off a little bit more or just turn it over a little bit more. You'll be able to figure that out in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that good for your game? Well, if you're having to adapt to the equipment, then no, you want the equipment to work for you.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
this is good stuff right here. This is good stuff. So this is good, man. So Sam, talk to us real quick about the mentality of a golfer, right? We hear it all the time. Golf is the most mentally draining game there is, and I mean, you hear this a lot. Is the competition more so with yourself? Is it with those in your field, right? And like, why is golf so hard? Why is it so hard, man?
I don't think we've got enough time for that. But I mean, there's so many different ways of looking at mentality. For me, I'm playing against the course. But at the same time, okay, say par is 72. if it's blowing a 30-mile-an-hour wind and raining, par's irrelevant. It's not going to matter. It's who can get the ball around in the fewest shots possible. And then you break that down to each shot. And then you break that into an overall strategy for the course and all this sort of stuff. And there's so many different ways of looking at it. You look at what Bryson's done over the last 3 years, 4 years. He's gone from, an average hitter, not scrawny, but, decently built, average length hitter, maybe slightly on the longer side. He's gone away, transformed his body, transformed his golf swing, and is now the longest player on tour. And he's taken that mentality of go out and attack the golf course. I'm going to have more birdie chances with wedges in my hand than I am with 7 and 8 irons if I'm back there. So that's one mentality. Then you've got almost a complete opposite with Tiger. Okay, Tiger was kind of the first guy to ever train properly as such for golf, to be the first real athlete. He had the power, but he harnessed that and just played golf in a sensible fashion. He didn't go attacking flags. He just played to the middle of the green, to the fat side of the green, and just played smart, conservative golf. He won 15 majors. He's not been too bad. So there's so many different ways of thinking about it and looking about it, and it can boil down to how you feel on the day. I've had days where my golf swing feels terrible, and I'm just thinking, right, how do I get the ball round in the fewest shots possible? Do I have to hit a certain shape or try and hit a certain shape all day to get the ball round? Do I have to rely on my short game? But then you'll have other days where you go out there and you feel like $1 million and you think you can do no wrong and shoot 65 and think, well, that was the easiest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
So literally the mentality changes day to day. And that's the scary thing about it, I think. Because there's no right and wrong way of doing it. There's ways that guys are more guys than others do. And you look at someone like John Rahm, who some people say is a total hothead. He's, on the golf course, he's throwing clubs, snapping clubs, all this. He's a very, very good golfer. And what happens when he gets hot, he riles himself up and he remotivates himself. And then you look at someone like Jordan Spieth, who's just all over the place and just seems scatterbrained half the time. But he just gets the ball around the golf course. So there's so many different ways of playing around a golf that each of those different ways has a different mentality, seemingly.
Yeah. So I got a question. No, that's really good insight right there. I think that's a very it's thought provoking to say the least. And for somebody like you, just curious. So there's a lot of athletes that I work with that they use golf as a therapeutic mechanism, right? Like I'm going to go play golf just as therapy and to compete in something other than my own sport, right? Do you see it as such? Do you see it as therapeutic, or do you see it as, man, this is my job, and when I don't execute, I feel bad? Or is it therapeutic for you as well?
It's not therapeutic, for sure.
Thanks for getting that out there, man.
Yeah. Not for me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I still enjoy playing. As much as I love going and playing in tournaments and being in the juice and everything else, I still enjoy going and having a knock on a Saturday afternoon with my friends. I still enjoy doing that. Is it therapeutic? Probably not. I'm not fully switched off. I'm probably still thinking about swing thoughts and how I'm playing and everything else.
Yeah.
And a funny story, one of my mates, he started taking the game up 3 or 4 years ago. And he said, if you're having a day off, do you want to come have a game? I said, if you're having a day off, would you go into the office? And he's like, well, no, I wouldn't. Well, there you go. So, for some people, golf is therapeutic. For me, yes, it's a job. Yes, I love doing it. I enjoy it. But at the same time, I need time away from it as well.
Nice. No, that's good, man. That's really good. So, just in case. So I know everybody has different clubs, you know what I'm saying, in their golf bag. What are shoot, let's call it two or three clubs that, and I know what you're gonna say, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. What are two or three clubs that you would never, like you have to have? Like you can't take these away from me. Let's say two. Let's say two. What's that?
I would have said drive. Okay, with two. That's a good question. I mean, putter would probably be one of them.
Okay.
It's the club you hit most in a round. So, if you hit every green, you're going to have at least 18 putts, if not more. More than likely, you're going to have more. You're going to average 26 to 30 putts, depending on how well you putt that day. So, your putter. What else? I mean, everything else apart from that is then fairly interchangeable. If you haven't got a driver, you can sort of hit 3-wood. Without a lob wedge, you can still use your sand wedge. So I wouldn't say putter is the most important club in the bag, but it's certainly the one you use the most.
Yeah.
And other than that, everything else is kind of interchangeable.
See, spoken like a true pro, man. So check this out. So when you start talking about golf, again, you're talking to two dudes right here who don't play. Like, you have probably forgotten more golf than we will ever play in our lives. So when you start talking about just in terms of in game, I've heard that putting and what is it, pitching? Is that what they call it? Like just
pitching, yeah.
Is where the scores change dramatically for golfers. Where do you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's an old saying: "Drive for show, putt for dough."
Say that again.
So there's an old saying. It's called "Drive for show, putt for dough."
Oh, nice.
So you're driving to show off, you're putting for the dough. I think in the modern age now, you look at most PGA Tour tournaments, the guys that are having the best putting weeks are generally the top guys on the leaderboard. There will be some weeks where guys are just absolutely striping it and maybe not putting as well, but because they're hitting it so good, they're still in contention. The volatility is on the greens. If you have a good putting week, you can shave 3-4 shots a round. You do that over 4 days, that's 16 shots. That takes you from finishing, potentially missing the cut to potentially winning the tournament.
Yeah.
So we call it volatility and strokes gained. Okay. So if you have more volatility, if you're a solid, consistent putter, you're not necessarily going to have hot weeks, so you're not necessarily going to win as much. If you're a consistent putter, but you have really hot weeks, you're going to win more.
Makes sense.
If that makes sense.
Man.
Yeah. So we call it the volatility and strokes gained, basically.
Okay. So, no, that's good. That makes a lot of sense. So before we get into the some of the more controversial topics that we're here for today, that the people want to know, and please don't get into all of your secret sauce, but while we're talking about it, let's just put it out there. What is the number one thing, or what is one piece of advice you would give for somebody to improve their putt game? Like what would you say that they should do, or something that they should focus on?
One piece of 100 yards and in. Just focus on 100 yards and in, because that's where the majority of your shots are. If you look at a guy starting out shooting 90, and you've got 18 holes, you're probably going to hit 2 shots on every hole to get it within 100 yards. So you've got nearly 60 shots of that 90 inside of 100 yards. If you take that down to 50, now you're breaking 80. You take that down to 40, now you're breaking 70. So I would always say anyone that's maybe not starting out, because obviously you've got to learn how to swing a golf club and how to hit a golf ball. But anyone that's serious about improving, 100 yards and in.
So that's what you need to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I would say so.
All right. Okay. That's good stuff. So as I understood it, and this is why you're here as the expert. This is really good. Once again, we're joined with Sam Whitehead, professional golfer, hailing from the UK. Whereabouts in the UK specifically are you right now, Sam?
So Milton Keynes. So it's about 45 minutes north of London.
Okay, what was the city
So
again?
Milton Keynes.
Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you again for joining us. This has been really good. So, as I understood it, the PGA was set up in the United States of America as a 501c6, right? Which gives it specific, tax privileges, much like a 501c3, but it's more for sports leagues, federations, clubs that the partners, the members, if you will, are in league to promote certain things, in this case golf. And you can only pay, as we all know, within 501c3s, 501c6, whatever it is, anytime you're talking about a nonprofit, the members aren't necessarily making millions upon millions of dollars, air quotes here. So here we have all of these players, many of them which you've named already here, Tiger Woods, Jordan Spieth, DeChambeau, all these like big names in golf. And here we have this organization, this golf organization. It's called Live, right? Is that the proper Live?
Yeah, Live. Yeah.
Yeah, which is backed by the Saudi government and has, in essence, drawn away many of the major names by giving big money to these players. And to use Derek's term in the last podcast, we had life-changing money, right? I want you to talk to us about we want to know what your opinion is. How does it benefit players? What are some potential drawbacks? Is this just healthy competition and PGA is mad? Let's unwrap this a little bit.
Yes, I mean, the idea of the Live Tour, and there's another one called PGL, Professional Golf League, but they basically, there's a whole backstory. It's been going on for behind the scenes, realistically, probably for 4, 5, 6, 7 years. There has been no competition to the PGA Tour in forever, basically. And a lot of the arguments are based around money and the fact that Rory McIlroy can play an event. He is the needle now, realistically. It was Tiger, and it's probably now Rory. He is one of the guys people go and see. He can play in a tournament, finish in 5th place with JT Poston. No offense to JT Poston, he's a very good golfer, but no one really knows who he is. And they earn the same amount of money. And the PGA Tour have tried to reward their better players through the years by bringing in new incentives. So you've got the FedEx Cup, which is the season-long points race, which culminates in millions and millions of dollars being given away. Mm-hmm. First place picks up $15 million for the season as a bonus, having probably already won at least 10 million. So you're looking at 25 million for a very, very good year. That's not too shabby. Now they've introduced something called the PIP, which is the Player Index Program. I think that's right. And basically it just ranks who the most popular guys are on tour through different means. So there's how much TV advertising, how much social media content, how popular they are with fans, with sponsors, etc., etc. So basically, you're just giving the top 10 most popular guys, who are probably the top 10 best players based on the metrics, more money.
Yeah.
But you still have a year-long order of merit, which I think is one of the problems with the PGA Tour, is that the FedEx Cup ends in August, and then the new season starts the following week and then runs through until August. So you have 12 months of non-stop golf apart from over Christmas and New Year's. Mm-hmm. And something like 52 events a year, because then you've got double events when the majors are on. It's bonkers. It's too much golf. So Liv came along and said, well, we'll just play 12 events, 54 holes, no cut. Everyone makes money, only 48 players. And the guys that are out there that are thinking, oh, actually, hang on, I'm at the back end of my career now. I could go on there for 4 or 5 years and make more money than what I'm going to make here.
Mm.
That I understand. I completely get that. You know, if you're, I'm not going to say over the hill, but if your best days are behind you and you've got 4 or 5 years to cash in on what you've got left, yeah, go and take more money. I get that. I completely understand why you do that. This is completely taking the issue away from where the money's coming from, because that's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah.
And then the thing that gets me at the minute with it is some of these guys are basically just turning around and saying, oh yeah, it's to grow the game, it's to grow the game. It's not. You're just money grabbing. You're going for the money. Just have the nous to come out and say that, because that's, I think, annoying a few people now. The first event at Centurion 2 weeks ago was by all means okay. I spoke to a couple of guys that went, and not one person mentioned the golf, because there's no juice to it. There's no juice to the golf. It's like the All-Star game with the third and fourth best player from every team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still good players, but they're not the best players. It's just a glorified exhibition to make people rich. Do you want to be played? I wouldn't want to go and do that. Okay, if they said, oh, here's 200 million to come and play, my ears might perk up. But I didn't get into golf for the money. I don't think anyone gets into golf for the money. When you turn pro, yes, your mindset is to make money, because that's how you move up the ladder and how you get up to the top. But guys like Brooks and DJ, Phil, Patrick Reed, DeChambeau, that have all now committed to it and are going, having either gone or going, they've got millions in the bank. And they've basically turned around and said, well, it's less events, it's less golf, and we get paid more. That's all well and good, but they're basically exhibition events, which I think just stinks. I think it's terrible. There's another argument that.
So real quick, I just want to interject real quick. So Derek and I have had this conversation, and Derek, you can chime in here, like the NFL, right? NFL is the best product, period, point, period, full stop, as it relates to football. And there have been other leagues that have come up. Arena Football League, Canadian Football League obviously has been there. You know what I'm saying? XFL, UFL, USFL, and every league that has tried to compete with, like, to use your words, the best players, the best organizations, the best, advertising, marketing, they have all been shut down in grand fashion. And so who's to say that, and then you start talking about some of these players on the Live Tour here. Some of these they're no slouches, right? They're some good players. Some of them are historical figures now. And so my thing is, is this just good competition? And Derek, real quick, before we throw the ball back here to Sam, Derek, what are your thoughts on, Derek, you played in the NFL. You've played in some of these other leagues that were accompanying the NFL and or competing against the NFL, who have now been shut down. What are some of your thoughts on healthy competition, development, and opportunities for players to showcase their talents?
Well, I'm like, the one thing that this Live Tour has that all those other leagues didn't have is they have bankroll. Like, they actually have money that could compete. Where, like, every single one of those leagues that you had, really the NFL crushed them. Because it just, like, there's no possible way that they have the amount of money to put out that type of product, right? Or to woo somebody to compete in that. That's why I feel it's kind of like that within college football. Like, how do you really get over the powerhouses? Like, it's like, I think the PGA Tour, what's so good about them is the mystique of the Masters. And just the majors that they have, it's like, I think that golfers grow up dreaming of winning the green jacket in Augusta. And I think it's tough when you got kids growing up and all they want to do is go play for Alabama or Texas or those big powerhouses. It's like, why in the world would I want to go play for Kentucky when I can play for, and I think that that's the mystique the NFL has. And I think at times that's what the PGA Tour has. And the only way to somehow try to compete with that is to have that kind of money, which it seems like the Live Tour does have. I mean, there's no way they threw the same money at them as PGA and those guys were jumping ship. No, they threw banana numbers at them. And that's why those guys are like, well, I'm not going to turn down money like that.
Yeah.
And I just think that nobody can do that. Like you bring the NFL up, none of those other leagues could do that. You're playing for pennies and no promise,
And to Derek's point, we read a partial list, Sam, of the payouts for the 48th place guy.
Crazy.
120,000 for last place.
Yeah. So
and that's just 3 rounds of golf.
Yeah. So go ahead, Sam. Just talk to us about that aspect in terms of the competition. Is there something to be said for, hey, we're going to interrupt the marketplace with healthy competition, and we have money, and we have long money too. Like, is there something to be said for that?
I mean, I think it's not even interrupting it. They're trying to take over. They're trying to change the face of golf. And take DJ, for example, Dustin Johnson. The number is, reported as 125 million over 4 years. Tiger made 121 million in tour earnings over 20 years.
Wow.
And that's not including all the money he can then make in the events. So if over these 4 years, he goes and wins, 12 events a year, if he goes and wins 10 events, there's another 40 million.
Wow. I mean, how's a guy
65 million?
How's a guy turn that down?
Yeah. Is there, at some point, I think for some people, there's still a professional pride. Rory's come out, Spieth's come out, Thomas has come out. They basically said, look, we're here to compete for tournaments, for trophies, to win. The money doesn't matter to Rory, to Thomas, to Spieth.
Yeah, but those guys aren't.
It doesn't matter to DJ.
Go ahead, Derek.
No, not at all.
That's the tough. So it's like I get that point. I get that point that's made, but that's just kind of like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Like, come on, guys, let's do this. It's like, bro, you ain't worried about money at all. Like those other guys, it's like it's a matter of this becoming a profession or this becoming a hobby. And so that's the tough thing. Like the NFL is always swirling around the top end guys, and everybody believes like your career becomes that, when it's like, no, the other 99% of the league isn't have that. And so it's like, I could be wrong about that in golf, but it's like, yeah, of course the top guys want to just play for trophies because you're already financially done for the rest of your life. Like you have Under Armour, you have all these things. So it's like, I don't know how somebody can turn down 120 mil just to show up.
Yeah.
Like all I have to do is show up. I play 12 events. Do you know how much more time that is? And freedom within my family, freedom within my kids, freedom within my schedule, not to mention more freedom to make more money, less travel. It's like, I hear you, but it's kind of like I got to water down some of the top end guys' opinion.
So Sam, I know you have a point here. Like, I know you have a rebuttal. I just want to say this before you share your thoughts on this, because I think this is an intriguing conversation. At the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, there are evolutions and iterations of sport, right? As we've said, golf is now more popular than it ever has been before.
Yeah.
Because of certain figures, certain people. And now this is a new iteration. Tennis has gone through its thing, and now we're seeing these younger burgeoning stars within tennis. And you can say that for every sport. It's like almost cyclical. And, for me, and Derek is the same way. I am pro player all the way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pro player. The amount of things that you players have to go through to get to the pinnacle of your success is so much. And the amount of money that's being made off of you is ridiculous in comparison to what you're getting from the game economically. And so I'm always pro player. And, Sam, what is, in your opinion, and I want you to give your thoughts about the prior points that Derek made, but what is your opinion on how we solve this? Like, how do you solve it? Do you just say, hey, no, don't go and play in the Lib? Do you does somebody open up another tournament? Like, how do you solve it? Because guess what? The players are leaving for a reason. The PGA is mad for a reason.
I don't think there's a way this is going to be solved at all. I think this is a new face of professional golf. Whether you like it or not, I don't. Again, if someone offered me 100 million, you're going to find it hard to turn down. Everyone's going to have a number eventually.
You answered my next question. You answered, Sam. You just answered. Okay, just answered my next question.
Yeah, but the other thing is, there's kids coming out of college which are on PGA Tour U and part of the program to sort of fast track them through to the PGA Tour. They're now going to live, and they're signing for 10 million, say, right? So 22, 23 years old, straight out of college, here's 10 million, come play with us. All right, brilliant, thank you. My one concern at the minute, one of many concerns, what happens in 3 years' time if it folds? If the Saudis are like, now we've had enough of this, we've kind of sport washed enough people, go back to your, whatever you're doing before. You're going to have a lot of people stranded. And a lot of young guys are going to be stranded with potentially nowhere to play, because PGA Tour has slammed them down. They're banned. You're not coming back.
Is that
DP
wait,
World?
Hold on. Did you just say that the PGA has banned those players?
Yes.
So why are they being banned?
Go ahead, Derek.
I was just going to say, where's that's something we haven't really got into. Where's the ban come from? That's where me and Joe have constantly talked about, did the ban come from your feelings getting hurt?
Yeah, so basically, the PGA Tour, when you become a member, even though you're an independent contractor, because that's what you are as an independent contractor as a golfer, they technically own your rights. So I think it's the same with NBA, NFL. They own your media rights, digital rights, etc., etc. So there is laws within that you have to ask for a waiver to go and play in anything opposite a PGA Tour event.
Okay, so how do I get my PGA Tour membership?
Through Corn Ferry Tour or winning enough money through the Order of Merit, etc.
So I have to win, okay? So I have to win in their events to become a member, okay?
Yeah.
So then say I win enough money to become a member. How long until that? What do I have to not do to get kicked off of there? Play bad golf and then I get kicked out?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so you see my dilemma here? So you get to just this is what I'm saying. It's this is where I've gone back to the example of this, so the PGA is the pimp and you already know what the player is. And so it's so you get to decide when I'm a member and then what I can do, and then you get to decide when I'm not a member. So it's I got no decision here.
It's a member-run organization. The PGA Tour is run by the players.
Until I'm not a member.
But then there's a commissioner that's nah, you know what? I'm just going to do what I want anyway.
Exactly.
So
it's a properly messed up situation. From back to front, upside down, everything. It's a properly messed up situation. There is no right and wrong way of solving it right now. So when they ask for the waivers, it's like asking for holiday from work or vacation from work. Like we're asking for vacation time to go and play in a different event. They have to agree to it. And now all of a sudden they're turning around and saying, well, no, you can't go and play in a rival or what is going to be a rival tour.
And so that's what it is so they are frustrated that you're going to play for more money. And because if you ask for a waiver to go play in the Australian Open because you wanted to go and play it in December when, against another event, more than likely you're going to get that granted. I think you get something like 5 waivers a year because it's not direct competition.
Yeah. So this is good.
Take it away, Joe.
And this is really good because we're starting to see this theme of, and just like Sam said, it's messed up. I mean, at the end of the day, you have an economic conversation, right? You have a competitive situation, and we haven't brought this up yet, but we also have a human rights situation as well. And the things that have been tied to that specific government with some of the things that have happened and transpired in history. And so some people would say, hey, is the money morally sound, right? Is it blood money?
Yeah.
Fill in the blank. And there's that conversation. And I think that, I think Sam, you said it perfectly, man. It is a properly messed up situation, and it's very intriguing. This is very intriguing. And I think to your point, Sam, like, I don't believe it's going anywhere anytime soon. And I learned something today from you, Sam, that I did not realize that these players are banned from the PGA now. I mean, you're talking about
so they're suspended, but then now this is where it gets interesting because it's all going to go to litigation and they're all going to appeal it anyway. And the Live Tour, who have basically given them all this money to come play, are now going to pay all of their court fees and everything else to go up against PGA Tour. So it is literally Live PGA headbutt.
Wow.
They are going at each other.
So I'm gonna get paid millions. My old employer is gonna sue, but my new employer is gonna not only pay me my millions, but is also gonna pay my court fees. That's a pretty good deal if I have to say so myself.
Yeah. But you go back to your point. Where does the money come from? If you take that whole argument away, I think there's a lot less hatred towards it and a lot less friction towards it. Yeah. If it was Jeff Bezos putting the money up, I think there'd be a lot less. Hatred's not the right word, but
friction,
disgust. Yeah, friction. There'd be a lot less about it. Mm-hmm. They are, and the thing is, everyone is talking about it.
Yeah,
everybody is talking about Live Golf and what is going on. It's what the Saudis are trying to achieve by doing it. They are trying to sport wash. They're doing it. They bought Newcastle United over here, football team. Their money is in everything, and they are trying to, buy people over, basically, which is what they're trying to do.
This is interesting. So
then it's a whole nother argument about, is it right what they're doing? Well, what they're doing in Saudi Arabia, I'm not going to get into that because I don't know enough about it. But it's just so many different conflicting things going against each other, which is making it as it is.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So Sam, let me ask you this then. Does the PGA Tour have the ability to pay their players more than what they're paying them?
No.
Exactly.
They have no ability. So they're spending all their money. There's no way they could make the prizes more.
So they have now raised the prize money in X amount of events, like the already elevated events. So kind of your Bay Hills, what else was there? In the match play, there's half a dozen events where they've now raised the prize fund. And they've done it in the Players' Championship as well. And they're still trying to pay the players more.
Gotcha.
They have something called the reserve, which, depending on who you listen to, will depend on how much they have. But pre-pandemic, they had about $300 million in reserve for things like the pandemic, or should golf not be able to be played, etc., etc., to still be able to pay the players and pensions and all this sort of stuff that, you need an X amount of cash flow to keep everything working.
Gotcha.
Do they need 300 million? Probably not. Is it worth having there as a bit of backup? Well, yeah, we just had 2 years of COVID. So the PGA Tour are trying to pay out as much as they can. And even with the announcement now that they've made in literally this last week, they're now trying to sell these events to broadcasters, to sponsors, that they have now already advertised as this is what we are doing. So they're trying to keep up with LIV. Now, there is talks that this has been in the pipeline for a couple of years in terms of what they are trying to do. But yeah, it just depends on who you listen to on that one. So
yeah,
that's interesting. $300 million in reserves. Well, it sounds like LIV is paying that out to a couple of players. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just like
exactly. Yeah,
weekend money. So wow.
Yeah, I saw a quote the other day. It was like, if this was an arms race, this would be America against Iceland. There's no comparison. There's absolutely no comparison in the money that Saudi have got and can pay to what the PGA Tour have got and can pay. They threw out 900 million at Tiger, and Tiger turned it down.
900 million?
I thought it was 200. I mean, come on now.
900. They said it's nearly $1 billion. They said it's about 900 million. That's not official. No one actually knows what the official number is, but it's reported about 900 million. If you've got that money to throw at one player, does 300 million in the PGA Tour reserve really worry you that much?
Hey, you know what I'm doing with that money, Derek? I'm getting that money, and I'm gonna start my own. I'm starting my own league.
Yeah, for sure.
You're gonna catch me about a week at the Bellagio first, though.
Hey, sir, eating that surf and turf.
Yeah, buddy.
Wow. Hey,
so I'm gonna have my own gondola.
Yeah, seriously, man. I'll build my own hotel. I'll build my own hotel. Hey,
buy an island like old boy with Virgin Airlines.
You could build a new Vegas for that.
Oh, seriously, man. My goodness. So, Sam, this has been really good. Once again, we're joined with Sam Whitehead, just talking about all things golf. This has been really good. We have to set this thing up for a part 2, man, because we haven't even scratched some of the surface. But in terms of a hard pivot as we close, Sam, thank you again for joining us. What are you the most excited about right now in the world of golf?
I think in a way, just looking forward to seeing what happens. I'm obviously not at the level where it's massively going to affect me right now because I'm still bouncing around on mini tours, but just looking at what could happen and where it could go, I don't know if it's exciting, but it's interesting. No one knows what's going to happen. In 3 years' time, you could have the 48 best players in the world playing on LIV. Right now, you've probably only got maybe 10 of the top 50, which is still pretty good. But they're guys that haven't done a lot lately. So, yeah, no matter which way you look at it, it's going to change the face of professional golf. Whether it does that over the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, is anyone's guess right now. I think a lot will be seen this week in Portland this week when that tees off, and see what the reaction in America is like with the American press and the American media covering the event. I know it was quite certainly the press conferences over here got very nitty gritty with a few of the questions being asked, and it'd be interesting to see what it's like over there. So I buckle up. Who knows what's going to happen?
Wow. Well, Derek, I don't know what you're going to do if the LIV tournament comes and asks you to play in it, but what are the questions that you have for Sam, man?
That the 900 milli be hard, bud.
Hey, not 9 just 9 million
hard.
right now would be hard. Just
Yeah,
9
yeah.
million right now.
Hey man, that's a lot of
9
zeros.
million, yeah.
Hey, that's
You
a lot
gave
of
me
zeros.
900 racks right now. It'd be hard.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Sorry.
That's a lot of zeros and a lot of hope right there, man.
That's exactly what it is. No, I just again, man, I love the insight. You know, I know you said, Joe, last week that we need more insight. So you went out and got a pro to come on here and give us some. So I hope our listeners are seeing how quick moves are being made over here. But man, Sam, it's been a pleasure to hear from you, man, and just giving me the knowledge, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Sam.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciated being on. It's good fun.
Yeah, thank you. So for our guest Sam Whitehead and my co-host Derek Devine, this is Josiah Igono with the All Things Performance Podcast. Hope you all have a tremendous week.